give that unconditional love
Sure.
and acceptance.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and that's what I think is so cool when you see service animals come through and just lighten up their world and stuff like that. Because I think that's the hardest part about, like, as we age, I think, and especially now that I've been around it for, I guess 8 years now. It's just like, it's a period of time where, like, these people they're still living. Like, there's still so much left that they can enjoy. But I feel like there's just not a lot of stimulation or things happening to help create that enjoyment. Or, you start losing friends and you start, things start happening and you don't have contact with the outside world anymore. And then you kind of become like this lone ranger in your own home. And it's like, it can be sad, but, like, there's still, like, a dog or a kid or some sort of connection, a caregiver or an outing, or probably even seeing you as a guardian is that highlight for the day and something they can enjoy,
It really is. It's so important. I've had clients that many people, their wish is to remain in their home during
Right.
their aging years. And although there are certainly positive aspects to that, there's something to be said about the isolation that it can bring.
Sure,
And
sure.
going to a place such as the senior care and whatnot, and even going on the outings, as you said. And sometimes facilities are the most appropriate, and a person doesn't realize what they've been missing being at home until their
Right.
environment changes and
Sure.
they have the opportunity to be around others who have lost spouses, who have lost children sometimes, lost longtime friends.
Sure.
So I agree 100%.
Well, now, like, I guess when you think about being in Connecticut, working in the skilled nursing facility, and then, like, transitioning to Florida, what transpired? I guess what led you here, and then into the role you're in now?
My mom led me here.
Okay,
I
gotcha.
have found that a lot of people don't know about Punta Gorda or Port
Right.
Charlotte, Florida. It's
Right.
always through someone that you know
Right,
who has
right,
been
right.
here or
I know
lived
every
here.
time I see someone and they're like I'm from Punta Gorda. I'm like, you are? Like,
That's-
really? Like, I feel like they're like a historic figure. Like, like
that's
this,
right.
like they're a celebrity in some way, So
Yeah.
yeah.
But that's what led me here, and I did initially get a job in a skilled nursing facility here locally.
Okay.
I had, obviously worked my way up to department head over the years. And it was at that time that I met a professional guardian.
Right,
In
right.
Connecticut, and guardianship is not a very old field. It's been around since the mid 80s, actually. And one of the reasons it came about is that many states, such with a large demographic of elderly people, Arizona, California, Florida,
Sure,
said
sure.
we have this problem. We have old people that need help. We have attorneys that are serving in that capacity and helping. There's a better way that it can be done.
Right, right. Because I'm sure, like, going to an attorney and no offense to the attorneys, and we're gonna have an attorney on this show to give you guys some free legal advice. But I can imagine, like, that would be a very expensive route to go.
It
right?
would be, and that's not what their specialty is.
Right,
So-
right. So it's almost like, they're, like, taking on something that's not even really a focus area of theirs, but then it's not even fair to the client in a sense because of how expensive it could potentially be.
Exactly.
So then is that what kind of led you into?
That was what led me. So I
I'm setting you up here.
I know. I see that. Thank you. But that is what led me to it. So I did some research
Yeah.
and, tried to find out, again, my background's in human services.
Sure.
What does it take to become a professional guardian in the state of Florida?
Now, is that something like, is that a license thing? Like, or what is that something that, like, back then, was there
It's a state.
an application that you had applied?
There was. You
Okay.
needed to go through a course.
Okay.
It's offered throughout the state. I ended up taking mine at Edison College in Fort Myers.
Okay, gotcha.
And you have to pass a state examination, and that you also have to pass a national examination
Awesome.
through the National Guardianship Association.
Okay.
And at that point, you are a certified professional guardian. And what the requirement is that you register on an annual basis with the state of Florida Department of Elder Affairs.
Okay, gotcha. So now is I guess like when you were making that transition, I mean, obviously you're seeing this need, and stuff like that. So at that point in time, did you is that when you started exploring or educating yourself more in the professional guardianship space, or?
That's correct.
Okay.
And I thought there was a need. Back in 2000, and I actually took the class in 1999.
Yeah.
I did not realize what the need was.
Gotcha.
The business has grown tremendously, more than I imagined.
Right.
Which is somewhat unfortunate that there are so many people that do need assistance
Right.
and whatnot.
Because
But
again, and I think because every time I think about like even before I knew what you did, in my mind, I feel like I definitely had a misconception of like what is a professional guardian, and what does that even really mean? Like in my mind, I always thought it was like always a state appointed type thing, and someone that worked for like maybe a state or social services environment. Obviously I was wrong, but I'm just saying like it's funny how your perception of like a professional guardian, you almost think of like the person that comes and picks up your kids and then you've got an abusive household and that takes them and helps make sure they get in a safe place.
Absolutely.
Like that's kind of always what my thought was.
And
So
you're right. And when I try to explain to people what I do, that's their first response. So you take care of people. They feel that I'm physically there, and in many times I am physically there for many issues and with them. But it's more a coordination of events, a coordination of caregivers, facilities, coordinating their finances, paying bills.
yeah, so I guess like help us take us through maybe like an example of like the process. Like say someone was in need of those services and like how do they even know they need you? Like who would actually tell them about what you do? Like where would they find out about that?
And under guardianship, it's a different situation. You need to keep in mind that we serve in different capacities. We serve as professional guardians. We also serve as agents on a person's durable power of attorney.
Okay, and so like an agent, what does that mean? Because like in a durable power of attorney, in my understanding, right? I'm like if I'm the person that's on that, or been named that, I could make decisions on behalf of. Is that the same thing as an agent? Or?
That is correct.
Okay.
And again, keep in mind, what we try to do is we want people to avoid guardianship.
Gotcha.
Guardianship is a last resort. It is the most restrictive option for a client. We try to encourage people to do their advance directives in advance, just what they are.
Right.
And I'm sure Mary Bursky will be speaking about this from the legal perspective.
Sure.
It's very important that you work with an attorney. An attorney draft these documents for you. And what we do is we serve in the different capacities.
Okay.
So, and it's very important, again, who you nominate, who you designate to serve you in the capacities.
So someone that like say names you as their agent on a power of attorney thing, what would be their circumstances? Do they not have family or what's
There's a number of circumstances.
Okay.
First of all, someone, when they do their advance directives, they may put us in these documents, but they may not need our services for a number of years. Again,
Gotcha.
they're putting their
They're
wishes,
being proactive.
They're being exactly
Yeah.
very
But they may not have family to help them with the
Right.
proactive.
So the reasons they would choose our company, they would choose us, would be for a number of reasons. One would be that maybe they do not have any family.
Sure.
The other, maybe they do have family, but the family's out of state, and they need someone. Their children may still be working, may have children, grandchildren, don't want their children to be basically what they consider burdened with the task of dealing with the day-to-day issues. The other, maybe they have children, but they do not want their children to serve in that capacity for a number of reasons.
Sure. Okay.
They feel their
Right.
children may not be good money managers.
Right.
May not they feel make the right decisions or their decisions.
Right. Which I know it's funny because like even now having Emily, there was a time where I remember thinking like I'm not gonna when I get older I'm like I'm not gonna give her anything, like she's gonna grow up and like learn how to do everything on her own and like make her own money and but buy her first car, but that was just how I was raised.
Right.
But but I can see though now like on the other end of the spectrum, like at this later stage in life, there's a lot of times where the family has gone through some turmoil or there's some family dynamics that are like really an issue and it's nice to have a central party that can help be the mediator almost.
Exactly.
So.
It's having someone that's independent, that's neutral, that their first priority is going to always be the client, but is going to treat extending family members all on an equal, fair basis.
Right. They're not thinking about like how can I get my house paid off, like when my mom or dad passes away or something crazy like that.
That's
it's
correct.
like so no, I mean which is it's so important really for and I feel like there's not enough of you guys out there. I mean I feel like when I think about the industry as a whole and the future of it, it's like I really feel like there's just such a greater need than even exists today. But I guess like I know you're talking about being in the capacity of as an agent, but what would be like another bucket or another area that you guys help people in or?
So as well as the agent, that document is executed and it's valid during a person's lifetime.
Okay.
It ceases upon death. But in that capacity, we can pay a person's bills. We can work with their financial advisors, make sure their investments are appropriately invested.
Sure. Sure.
Take care of all of their tax preparation and make sure that their taxes are filed on time.
Right.
We can apply for government benefits such as VA benefits or Medicaid.
Right, right.
So there's many things that can be done under that durable power of attorney.
Which is nice because like now you have someone educated in all these different areas. You know, long-term care insurance. You know, like you said, the VA benefits, the tax issues. Because I mean, that can be like, as we get older, we may not be paying attention to, you know, what are some tax advantages that may have changed this year as opposed to last year, and
Exactly.
you know now that I'm at this period of my life, you know, how can we hedge against this tax burden somehow, or
Absolutely.
you know, and you know, how can we apply for that VA benefit, which
Is another daunting task.
Sure.
There's many things. I a couple of weeks ago, I had a lady who is just shy of 92, and I've been her durable power of attorney or her agent
Yeah.
for a couple of years. But however, she hasn't needed my services.
Right.
And she did call me several weeks ago and just said, "Can you take over? I'm tired of paying my bills." So
Right,
I went
right.
out and I met with her, and
So this was someone that like a few years back just said, just in case, like I want to set you up as a power of attorney, I want to have things in place.
that's correct.
And then now she's like, I'm done.
I'm done.
Paying
I'm done.
bills. I need your help.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
Okay, that's
Mhm.
cool. So that's, I mean, even which goes to the whole proactive thing. Because that's the big thing, even for the show, is to help people be proactive. So it's like, you know, plan in advance. Because now this lady, when she has this issue, she knows who to call. you know?
Exactly. And although she still has her capacity, should she continue to age and her mental faculties diminish, that if she did not have those advanced directives in place, then she could be in a guardianship situation where, and again, I don't want to. Guardianship is not the end of the world. Our feeling is if you can make decisions for yourself and choose the people you want to help you, then isn't that favorable to having the court say this is going to be your guardian?
Sure,
And
yeah.
guardianship is also a more expensive route to go.
Right.
There's attorneys involved and whatnot. Again, it's not the end of the world. Guardianship does have a very good check and balance system. There's a court auditor. I mean, guardians are scrutinized very closely by our court,
Right,
which is
right.
the way it should be.
And it's so it's almost like when I hear you say like you know, you as a professional guardian, that's just like it's almost like that's just like one aspect of what you do.
That
you know?
is.
It's
That-
like even though it's like your professional title,
Right.
you know, it's like it really there's so much more to it than that. Like that's just almost like one facet, but then there's all this other stuff that you can help people with.
That's
So-
right. So we spoke a little bit about the being an agent on a durable
Yeah.
power of attorney. The other capacity that we serve in is as trustee.
Okay.
And a person creates a trust, and again, their attorney will recommend if they feel their estate requires a trust.
Now someone that like has a trust or needs a trust, what does that person look like? What kind of client is that? Is that someone with a large inheritance from another family? Is that someone that has, you know, is it typically a money transition or a family transition that's taking place at
Typically, in my opinion, a trust is normally there's a certain threshold for the value of the estate that the
Okay.
assets are made. Typically, someone with low value of assets are not going to do a trust.
Right.
However, with that being said, trusts can be very creative documents, and if a person wants things done during a certain way or not distributed outright to a beneficiary, that would be a great document for them to use.
Gotcha.
So-
When it comes to trust too, I mean, I guess that's something where an elder law attorney would get involved in the
Exactly.
creation portion of it. But that's an area that you serve in, I guess.
Exactly.
Okay. So someone, well, how would you help them on the trust side of things?
So many times when we have a trust client, they will go to their attorney, and we at that time normally don't even know about the client.
right.
And their attorney will have the conversation about what their needs are. And most of the time, the attorney, if they feel that we would be a good fit for what their client's needs are, they will recommend to the client, give several names of
Sure.
other of companies that do professional trust services. And we'd like to set up an interview. The client will call us and arrange an interview to sit down and talk with us about the services that we can provide, talk about their situation.
Sure.
So the trust, and normally the person is the grantor of the trust, serves as the trustee. But if that person does become incapacitated, the successor trustee can then step up and continue to manage the trust assets, can pay the bills, can put caregiver services in place, can do whatever needs to be done, make mortgage payments, do taxes.
Gotcha.
And then when the person passes, then it would be the trust administration as far as terminating the trust.
Right. So it's almost like the trust is treated like not I mean, it's not a person, but it's like I'm saying like you're the person, you're the agent of the trust. You're making decisions on behalf of this trust, which is basically like I guess not a person. I'm trying to think of a way to describe it, but it's kind of like it's its own entity in a sense.
Its own entity.
Maybe like almost like if you look at it like it's like a business, and you're making decisions on behalf of this business and on how we allocate assets or something.
And the decisions made by the client. That trust is the trustee's roadmap. We follow that. But many of my trusts are ongoing. They're not just at death. Distributions are made.
Like they could have a trust while they're still living for 10 years, I guess, right?
Right. And what happens is when the person does pass, then I have many that have a couple that come to mind. I have one that her daughter had a serious drug and alcohol issue, and the deceased, the mother, did not want her to receive all the trust money outright for fear that the daughter would squander it.
Sure.
And so she has it set up so it's held in trust for the daughter's lifetime.
Gotcha.
And I distribute.
Okay.
I
Gotcha.
distribute quarterly income to the daughter to help maintain her life, what the mother would want, but not to.
So it's really like helping that legacy to live on.
Exactly.
So that way the money doesn't get dispersed and then disappear.
You're protected. Yeah,
Right.
It's kind of a protection that the client's putting in place.
And probably even a protection against like taxes too. Like
There could be tax benefits to that as well. Yeah. Another trust that I'm administering is paid out over 10 years to a son because again, the client, who I knew very well during his lifetime, he said, "Oh, if my son gets this money, it'll be gone in 6 months. He's going to buy a new motorcycle." And so he chose to have it spread out over 10 years, again, because it was very important to him that his son have this money to maintain him, for the rest of his life. So it is leaving a legacy.
Sure. Would you say when you think about all the people that maybe you're the person that oversees the trust for, like is it the majority of the time, is it a family dynamic issue that's the reason why someone would have a trust, or I guess can you even is it 50-50 or?
Well, the reason for the trust, again, is asset-based, and then what their wishes are. A last will and testament, we also serve as personal representative, and if someone names us in their last will and testament, and that's appropriate for some people as well. But normally, doing a last will and testament, the proceeds are paid out. You administer the estate. It's open to creditors. There's other, negative things of having just an estate, but again, sometimes that's appropriate, and that's why it's very important that a person does talk with an attorney, does get the legal advice. We have a number of good attorneys that are either board certified or specialize in estate planning.
Right. And so you work with them through this process, and just kind of like helping be the voice for the client and making sure that the client's getting what what they want out of it. So
I would say we're the boots on the ground.
Right. Exactly. So I guess so we got through the trust there. We have the power of attorney documents. I guess is there other areas of specialty that?
The other area that sets us somewhat apart from big trust companies. There's many things that set us aside from a large trust company, but one area is that we also serve as healthcare surrogate.
Okay.
So we can if a person is unable to make their healthcare decisions, we can make those for them.
And like decisions, like I guess what kind of is there any specific like?
Many times it's end of life decisions.
Okay.
Many times, yeah.
So it could be like choosing like hospice or where I want to be at the end of life, or
sometimes even removing a ventilator.
Okay.
I've had again, one situation that comes to mind is I had a woman. I was her trustee and her agent in her advanced directives, but she and her healthcare surrogate. She wanted her niece, who happened to live in Connecticut, to be her primary healthcare surrogate, and then she named me as her backup healthcare surrogate. The niece was very involved, very supportive, but one day, or during the last year of my client's life. She was in the hospital probably more than she was out of the hospital.
Wow.
And the niece was trying to advocate for her aunt and get information, but each time she called the hospital, the doctor wasn't there.
Right.
It was a new nurse on staff who had never treated her aunt. But
Sure.
there were many reasons. So the niece called me and asked, Robin, I've been trying to do this, this, and this. I can't get any information. Can you go to the hospital and find out what's happening? What
Sure.
are they treating her? So because I was the backup healthcare surrogate, I was able to go there with my documents and accomplish what the niece couldn't do. And it was only
far. Yeah,
just because of the distance.
And I feel like that's going to be so, I feel like there's so much more of that need as we, because I
absolutely.
mean, I look at my generation, man, we're just so clueless to the amount of effort that it takes to care for your mom or your dad, or like someone that's going through this kind of like this last years of their life, and what that takes. I mean, there's so much involved in it that
it's very time consuming, and sometimes that's what the client feels. They go, I don't want my child, my son, daughter, to have to drop everything in their lives to come down here.
Right.
The other thing is that their son, their loved one who lives out of state, they're not familiar with our healthcare system. It's different.
And I know it's crazy. Like every state's so different.
Yes.
Like some states, I know, like even in our, like the daycare is licensed. Some states the daycare is not licensed in. Some places the assisted living rules are different. I mean, every state is so different. It's crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And knowing who the doctors are, knowing the home health companies.
Right.
Those things are very, even something as simple as knowing the realtors.
Right.
Who do you want to work with?
Sure.
Sometimes we have to sell properties or whatnot. So
sure.
it's very involved. I try to explain it to people is think of everything you do every day to manage your own life,
right,
and then add a little bit to that, because as we age, we normally have,
it becomes
a little more complicated.
Yeah, so Medicare, Medicaid, this insurance, that, hospital, all sorts of other issues. That's so funny because like we have this gentleman, Jim. He does a lot of our maintenance at our facility, but I feel like he plans all of his stuff around his wife's doctor's appointments.
That's a life around his wife.
Like,
exactly.
Literally, he'll tell me all the days what he's doing, when and where, and it's all around his wife's appointments. And of course the dog's appointments.
Jim comes last.
Yeah, exactly. So then eventually we'll get his help with some stuff. But it's funny how busy people are. But whether it's doctor's appointments, whether it's meeting with their attorney, whether it's it's dealing with just all this stuff. And at the end of life, or at those later years in life where we're not working full time, so we're just trying to manage and maintain what we have.
Exactly.
And it can be very labor intensive. So if you want to make your life easier, you would call Robin. That would just make life easier, right?
That's right.
So that's her goal. What is I guess what else we got as far as. So we've talked about trust. We've talked about the healthcare surrogate, power of attorney, durable power of attorney. Is there other areas of specialty that you focus on?
The professional guardianship and the personal representative.
Okay.
So those are the 5 areas.
What would be the two difference between like a personal representative versus a professional guardian?
Well, the personal representative is the person that is appointed to administer your last will and testament.
Okay.
So completely different. That happens upon death.
Okay, gotcha. So does that happen at the time of it, or is that a...
Yes, a person, normally when a person goes to an attorney to do their estate plans, typically it's all inclusive. They're doing either a trust or a will, or both.
Right.
Many times there's a pour over will that everything goes to the trust. They're executing their durable power of attorney, their healthcare surrogate.
So they would be choosing a personal representative.
They're choosing who they want to administer their estate.
Okay.
They may not want their children because their children are going to fight over the last fork in the silverware drawer.
Right. Man, I feel like you got a dangerous job.
Or they don't want to burden their children.
Right. I'm saying I'm sure you've seen it all.
We have seen some cases, but we've taken some people out of some really dire situations that were living in really poor conditions, and because of their incapacity.
Right. So not necessarily because they couldn't live in better conditions, but just because they weren't capable of making decisions.
Right. We've had.
Tell some stories. I'm sure you got plenty.
We have the story of the woman who lived at home with her 9 dogs, and the 9 dogs did not go out of that house for many years.
Yeah, 9 dogs.
Yeah, wow. So that would need to. Yes, so
that's great. I mean, can you so here you are pulling up to this house. right? Like, I mean, you never been here before, this lady's
No,
house? Okay.
no.
You pull up this house, and like, I mean, did you have any idea what you were walking into at that
We
point?
have some idea.
Okay,
You
but,
know,
but
yeah.
you really don't know until you know.
No,
Like,
you don't know until you know, yes.
Only Robin knows what it's like to walk
right.
into a house with
That's
9
right.
dogs.
That's right. And one
Yeah.
came up a couple of weeks ago. The woman, her home was infested with rats.
Wow.
Where the pest control company told their people to get out and not come back.
Man, it's crazy.
So,
wow, that's crazy.
yeah.
So, but it was cool is that they could like you, literally you're the like you're like the angel coming in there to transform that environment for them because I think the hard part too is sometimes we don't realize that there's all these people in all spread out through the United States in situations like this, and we have no idea because it could be your neighbor that you never see.
That's right.
That you're like, does anyone live at that house? And they do, but they might be elderly and may not have any family or anyone to help them out.
You have no idea. Exactly. This woman does not have children. She has a cousin who's out of state. I was able, and she came to me. She was picked up by the Punta Gorda police and brought to Riverside Behavioral Center, and they called me saying, this woman has no one, can you help us?
Right.
So we were able to locate a cousin. I spoke with the cousin.
So you're a PI too?
Yeah, we are, yes. Yeah.
Right?
If I can only find her car. We're missing her 2016 Honda. I should have brought the plate number. We get it out there on the air and see if
That's right.
I'm looking for a vehicle.
What color is it? Is it?
I believe it's red.
It's red. Is
Yes.
it locally or is it?
We don't know where it is.
Okay.
She was picked up by
So
the
if you
police
see
and
a
brought to
red
Riverside.
Hyundai, then call Robin.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes, and
That's
so
funny.
the police department, they do not have it, and I called the local Honda dealerships where I was told that it was
Be in service or something?
Yes, they say
is crazy.
the last time it was
Wow.
there was in April of 2018.
Wow, that is insane.
So we do act as a PI, trying to
right.
find things.
I feel like you could literally write a book after like all these experiences, because I mean, I'm sure you've seen it all.
We've seen a lot of situations.
Yeah.
A lady a couple of weeks ago, she came to me and she deeded her house to her neighbor.
Really?
Right, and she did it a number of years ago, but she said to me, I didn't mean to do this. My husband had just died, and I wasn't thinking clearly, and oh no, what do I do?
Right.
So I called her attorney, and he said because of the way the deed was prepared, and it wasn't done by her attorney, he had no knowledge that this woman had deeded her home to another person with
Isn't
her
that crazy?
life.
It's like,
So I'm right now I thought I had convinced the woman to deed the home back to my client because it's
Right.
the right thing to do.
Right.
And she did agree to do that. The last few hours I've been getting stonewalled. So
Gotcha.
we're trying to get my client's home back for her,
Right.
who needs that home. She wants
Sure.
to stay in her home. She
Yeah.
requires caregivers, but she may need to use that asset as well
Right.
to continue to stay at home.
Right. And then that's the thing too. So that'd be something as well as like, it's just like, not only are you managing maybe what's left, but you're also trying to help people find creative ways to to live out their years and actually be able to afford the appropriate care they need, right? I mean,
That's one of our first priorities that we do is we obviously assess and evaluate the person's situation, what their needs
Right.
are, what their wishes are, and then try to put a plan in place that is according to what their wishes are.
Right.
Again, that is what's most important to us, as long
Sure.
as it's obviously safe. I had a gentleman, I was in his documents for a number of years, and at 98 years old he finally needed my services. He
Right,
was starting to fail cognitively, and he didn't have a lot of money. At-home care can be quite costly. He had a couple of $100,000, which does not sustain for many
Right,
years
right,
when you
right.
need 24-hour care at home. But
which is I mean, every time I've ever calculated the math on it, I'm just like, it blows my mind. Because for those that don't know, I mean, 24-hour care, 7 days a week, 365 days a year is literally like $16,000 a
per
month.
month.
I mean, it's like,
Exactly.
I got, because I mean, even having a home care agency, when I think about that, I think, wow, that is a lot. Like, I'm like, do we send the bill? Do we not send the bill? I feel bad even but it's
Right.
crazy. I guess the thing is when you look at like how much care costs, and I don't have the stat on me. I wish I did, but where they talk about like literally you spend the last like 10 years of your life, spending 90% of what you made your
That's
entire
right.
life or
That's
something like
right.
that. I mean, I know that's a little off, but I'm just saying, I've heard there is a statistic out there where, there is so much money spent at the last 10 years of life, where it's like just, and all of it on care,
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So I mean, and I think too, like like you were saying, where you get involved, it's like we almost have to play the role to some extent of this financial planner.
Absolutely.
It's like,
it's very important. And we
Yeah.
work with the finance. We do a chart. We have to look at what the income is. We
Right.
look up what the expenses are. We figure out how much, time that we can sustain the person with the assets they have. And in this gentleman I was telling you about at 98, I had to make a judgment call because he had a couple of years worth of money, but I knew that he didn't have a long period. We weren't talking 5 or 10 years, and part of it just comes down to common sense. My feeling in that case was, and again, I can't stress that every single case is so unique. Every person,
Right.
all of our lives are
Sure,
different and
100%,
unique.
yeah.
But I had to make a judgment call, and basically, my feeling is that I didn't feel that he was 98, he was almost 99, that he was going to live another 3 years, and,
Right,
and it's sad
right,
to say
right.
that, but that's what we have to deal
Sure,
with, the
yeah.
reality of it. And then the other part was, and if he did, I felt his cognition probably would have declined to a point that he wouldn't be aware of his home and the surroundings,
right,
and
right,
at that
right.
point. But the moral to the story is that he did not outlive his money. He was able to die at home,
Right.
caregivers in place.
Because
So
someone helped ensure that, to see that through.
Exactly.
Because you know what this person's going to need over time, and you know how much it's going to cost, and you know how to plan that out for them.
they're
You know, where-
and we don't have there's not a
yeah, it's not an exact model.
No, we don't have, I've had people that I thought
Right.
are, they're not, going to make it past next week, and
Right.
lo and behold,
They're still here 10 years later.
That's right.
And we're like, dang, how do we still pay for all this care for this person?
Yeah, I
you know,
had
'cause-
one woman, she was on
Yeah.
hospice for 3 years, and it was quite sad because she had no quality of life. She had a massive stroke. She was on hospice, but 3 years, and we
Yeah.
did not know what, was keeping her going.
Right. Well, yeah, we had a lady one time too, and she stayed with us. She was on hospice, and it was really cool to see, because like you can almost tell when people like aren't ready to go. Like they're still like happy, or they're still fighting to be here, and in her face, she was one of those people that was just still fighting. And for 2 years she was on hospice for someone that we would have never thought would have been able to be with us for as long as she was. But you could tell she just was, you would help her out in the morning, and she was just full of smiles,
Isn't
and
that
she just still
nice?
had just that, like, she just wasn't ready,
Absolutely.
She wasn't ready, and every time the girls would call me, I would go over there, and like, she would smile for me, and I'm like, she's not ready.
That's
She's just
right.
hanging out,
No.
she's still enjoying, her time, so, but yeah, it's like, I
Yeah,
don't,
good for her.
every situation's different. I get that, but I also, you can almost see that sometimes where people like give up versus people, are hanging in there. They're still looking forward to something. So.
Absolutely, and it's hard. It's hard. Like we talked about earlier, outliving spouses and children and friends.
Right.
Your world can become small, and it's up to us to try to. And that is, part of our mission statement
Sure.
is to provide the highest quality of life that we can offer. We can't always change situations.
Right.
We can't change the amount of money or the
Right.
health conditions
Right.
or the family dynamics.
Sure.
But we can be there again to advocate.
We're managing those things to get that person based on what they have,
That's
the
right.
highest quality of life.
Exactly.
Yeah. So out of all the crazy stories that you have, is there one that just like sticks out? That's just like, this is the craziest thing that's ever happened in my
I
journey.
wish I could just say one that does stick out. I can't. I can tell I had a guardianship.
There's like 10. I don't know what to choose
There's
from.
more.
Right.
Unfortunately there's
Right.
more than I think. There's literally hundreds.
Right.
I've had a guardianship where we had the SWAT team at his home because he had
The SWAT team?
the SWAT team to remove 120 plus firearms from the home. He was incapacitated.
gosh.
He was a
Wow.
marksman, an expert shooter, and he was not.
That's insane.
Yeah, and it was.
It's like walking. That's like that Mr. and Mrs. Smith movie when you
That's-
go downstairs and you
that's
walk
right.
into that bunker, and it's like,
and he was able to use those weapons and made no qualms that if he didn't like you, he would use them on
wow.
you.
Okay, yeah, that's so you were even walking into situations like that,
we
right?
do.
I mean, like, were you at that point in time? Were you becoming a client? Because I mean, I can imagine.
I
that'd be
was
a
his
little-
guardian, so
Okay.
he was deemed incapacitated.
Okay,
so,
gotcha,
so
gotcha.
the court appointed me as his guardian, and I had to walk walk into that situation.
Wow. So you brought SWAT with you.
Well, we called
brought
this the
backup.
local sheriff's department. It wasn't in this county, yes.
Right.
And they, because of the type of firearms, he had different. I'm not an expert in firearms, but he had some that the local sheriff's department didn't even know how to operate and unload and store it securely. So they had to bring SWAT in with a trailer.
It's amazing all the different angles. I mean, from dogs to
I know.
rats to I feel like no one could ever. I feel like even in professional guardian school or
That's right.
like no one could ever there's no way to ever learn this stuff.
No, it's on the job training, and most of the time, you just have to keep in mind. A lot of it's common sense. What decisions would you want made for your loved one?
We got a caller? Yeah. We got a caller. All right. Let's see who it is.
Okay. Headphones.
Okay.
Hello. Hi, you're on the show.
Before the show is over, would she please give her phone number of the company she represents?
The caller would like you to give your phone number of the company you represent.
Absolutely. The name of the company is Estate and Guardianship Management Services. The telephone number is 941-743-4151. Hit extension 1, and you'll get right through to my secretary.
Extension 1.
Correct.
941-743-4151. Extension 1. Where are you located?
In Punta Gorda, Florida, 6230 Scott Street.
Oh, okay. Thank you so very much.
You're very welcome.
Very interesting.
Well, thank you.
Oh.
Bye-bye.
I love it. She sounded so sweet. She
sound
had a
sweet.
sweet voice. That's awesome. And Robin's fantastic. I mean, I know in our professional career. I mean, I've just relied on her a lot. We've had some interesting cases of our own, but she's been so helpful when we have a person that's moved in maybe to our assisted living facility, and we're trying to help that person out. They may not have family, or their family may not be as involved, and we're just we as the facility can't really do anything for this person as much as we want to, and so we've been able to rely on you to help to be the person that can sign off on something or to approve something to help this person get what they need. So
We see that a lot. We get that a lot of times from bankers, sometimes
Sure.
physicians,
Sure.
facilities. Quite often, they'll have a situation, and they're limited unto what can be done. And we always consider and hope that we are a referral source for anyone in the community. I have people call me all of the time. They may not need my services, but at least I can point them in that right direction.
Exactly, yeah.
Just as you and Amie are doing as well
Yeah,
with the
and
senior
that's
source.
that's what we're all doing. I mean, I feel like at the end of the day, it's like we're all just trying to help these people out. Maybe they might come to you or me or whoever else for a different reason, and then we're just trying to hey, what else is going on? What's
That's
what's
right.
the plan? What's the goal? Where do you want to
But we
go
have
with
the
this?
contacts.
Yeah, exactly.
We have the contacts that
Right.
can at least steer them in the right direction so that they
Sure.
can try to get the assistance that they require.
100%, 100%. No, that's great. Well, I'm just grateful that you came on today. I know, this was kind of last minute and stuff the other day, and at first Robin's like, she was a little nervous about being on here, but man, you did awesome. See, it was no big deal, right?
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It was no big deal.
No, it was wonderful. No, I'm just grateful for Robin and her relationship and our friendship and what she's doing for people in the community. And of course, to reach you again, what would be the best number for folks that are on the line?
The best number to reach me at is 941-743-4151, extension 1.
Okay, and then also too, I heard you said your son, I guess, is coming on board, or
Yeah, Jason Monroe started with the company in 2018.
Okay.
And he just finished his certification, passed the national
Awesome.
test.
So as a professional guardian,
As
as
a
well?
professional guardian as well,
Awesome.
yes. And we actually have the packet ready to go up to the Office of Public and Professional Guardians, which is the State of Florida Department of Elder Affairs. It's the
Okay.
division that we have to register,
Wonderful.
so that he will now be a registered guardian. We'll get his information to the courts. We have to file it with the courts that we work out of, which
Sure.
is Charlotte, Lee, and Sarasota.
That's super exciting, though.
It is very
That's
exciting.
cool. That's
And I
awesome.
think having a male figure may it be good as well.
Sure.
Like I said, some
Especially on those days when you need SWAT.
That's right. That's right. I
It's
confused him back then.
Because I feel like walking in, because that's the thing too, is even being in the home care side of things now, it's like, man, when I went on some of these evaluations, walking into these environments where we you have no idea what you're walking into.
You don't.
You know.
You don't.
And every house is different. Every person is different. Every family dynamic is different. I was telling Jamie the other day, it's like, running a home care agency is almost like running like 40 assisted living facilities at the same time.
That's
It's
right.
like, because you got all these family dynamics and all of a sudden you're like plugged into that person's like life,
That's
like on
right.
a daily basis.
And
so.
then the client being in the home environment
Yeah.
is so different than the assisted living. You're seeing that person for 24 hours a day. You really know what's happening in their life. And
right. And like the other day we walked into a home and like that person that we see in this one place, we're only with them for a certain portion of the day, and so it's like every time I feel like we open that door in the morning, it's like
surprise.
Right, exactly. I know. It's like you go to the house where the door is open and you're like, what's going on?
That's
And
right.
you realize maybe in the middle of the night maybe they open it, they're still there, thank God, but like it's just like, man, that suspense of like what happens in the last 12 hours while they've been home alone,
And that's happened, when
yeah.
we've done, wellness check, and it's not been a good
Sure.
situation that we've walked in. So it's true.
Yeah, no, it's wild, man. It's crazy. Well, I'm grateful that you came on today. I'm grateful that
Thank you.
your son is going to be a part of the process. That's super exciting, and I just want to give a shout out to our sponsors. So for those that are new to our show, the show is sponsored by Chelsea Place Senior Care and Discount Med Direct. Both Amie and Suzanne are I'm the Lone Ranger today. They're out. So anyways, but Amie and Suzanne, like I said, with Chelsea Place Senior Care and Discount Med Direct. I know Suzanne had given me some info earlier about what's going on over there. They actually have some events going on, and I'm just going to pull up some of the information they got happening. So just so you guys know. They actually, she said, okay, so I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Discount Med Direct, their top selling drugs are, one is Viagra and the other one is Cialis, believe it or not, which blows my mind. Every time I think about that, I'm like, really? But she said it's one is for $2.50 and the other one's for $3. They have a special going right now. So, anyways, I'm just putting that out there. She told me to say it. So, and then they also have our trivia night event. So next Tuesday, we're actually doing a trivia night, and Robin's actually a sponsor. It's open to the public, but what it is, it's a $10 donation when people come to our trivia night event. Suzanne's a sponsor. I know, Robin's a sponsor. We have our other sponsors, Trilogy. I'm trying to think. Royal Palm. We got Beef O'Brady's. So we have some other sponsors that help make this possible, and we're actually donating the proceeds from that night to the United Way of Charlotte County. But it's a $10 donation, and it's a ton of fun. And for those that don't know, I'm not a huge trivia fan, but when I actually got to play it that day, I had such a blast. I was like, man, this is awesome. It was a lot of fun, and it was really not a lot of work. I mean, it was one of those. Sometimes you go to these fundraising events and you're like, man, this is just a lot of work. Like a lot of work leading up to it, a lot of work while you're there, or everyone's always asking for like donations or money or whatever. But this is super simple. Come in for a hot meal, come in for drinks, $10 donation, and then just have some fun with some friends. So that's actually going to be held on, let's see, the 30th of June, and that's going to be. Oh, yeah, July. Man, I'm all over.
Okay.
I don't know what day it is. So it's be the 30th. Thank God Robin's here to keep me straight. But it'll be the 30th of July, and that will be at Chelsea Place Adult Daycare Center in Port Charlotte, Florida, which is 3626 Tamiami Trail, 3626 Tamiami Trail in Port Charlotte, Florida. And that's actually right between Portside Tavern and the Little Antique Mariners Trading Post. We're right in between that. So we'll be there June 30th for trivia night, and also want to give a shout out to those if you're caring for a loved one and you need help, whether it's in your home or you're looking for maybe senior housing. Chelsea Place is there for you. We're your solution for every stage of senior care, and you can reach out to us at 941-676-3411. The number for Chelsea Place is 941-676-3411. And if you have any questions about discount meds and you'd like to learn more about, maybe saving, costs on your prescriptions, say even saving up to 80% on some prescriptions, reach out to Discount Med Direct. You can reach them at 941-421-7155. Their number is 941-421-7155, and they're conveniently located in Port Charlotte, Sarasota, and in Lee County. So they have a Cape Coral office as well. So thank you guys so much for being here and for joining us on the show today.
4 minutes.
Oh, we got plenty of time left, so we get to hang out. But
Oh, yeah.
you know, we're just grateful for all the wonderful people that make this show possible, and we're excited. That I don't know if I told you, Robin, but we finally launched our event. And so the reason for doing this show, and I feel like even like what you guys do and what Amie, and I have tried to create is just being that resource, for families.
Yeah.
And I know for me, like I feel so strong about helping families walk through this process. I know we created the 5-step guide to senior care really to give families an organized way of understanding what do I need, whether it's for myself or my mom or my dad, my spouse, whoever it may be, what is it that I need to be aware of that I might need down this journey? Because regardless, everyone's going to go through the journey.
Absolutely.
They may not need everything along the journey, but they're going to go through it. And so we created Florida's 5-step guide to senior care to help people understand what that journey looked like. And, the first one was being proactive and understanding, what cognitive changes are taking place in my loved one. Is this Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's? Is this dementia? What's the difference? Is it a UTI? What does this stuff even really mean? And how does it, and how is this affecting my loved one? Or what do I need to know about it in order to, to care for them? And is there any prevention for it? So being proactive in that area, and then organizing legal affairs. And I know that's kind of the category that's important. That's like the main hub of what you do.
That's right.
Getting my legal affairs in order, making sure that, because I have to, in order for me to make a financial plan or to figure out how to pay for care, like I got to figure out, okay, well, who's going to oversee the
That's right.
financial decisions and the healthcare decisions? So have I got my pre-need arrangements taken care of? Do I need a power of attorney? And who's set up? Is it the right person? Do I need a will, a trust, all these other things? Have I done my Medicaid or VA planning? So all this stuff is kind of like like done on that legal affairs side, which is our step 2, and then step 3, making a financial plan. Do I need Medicare, Medicaid? Do I need Medicare and a supplement, Medicare Advantage, Medicare replacement? I feel like every time I say this, I'm like, see, this is why it's so confusing.
That's right.
Because everyone,
There's too many choices.
Exactly. And so it's like, I can't tell you how many times people ask us, like, so does Medicare cover that? And or they'll be like, oh, so-and-so, I talked to so-and-so, and they're talking about Medicaid instead of Medicare, or they're talking about Medicare Advantage instead of, the straight Medicare, and there's all this confusion. And so, like walking through that, and then do they, sometimes we see spouses, they don't even know that their loved one, like had maybe assets or, equity in stocks or bonds, or like they have these accounts and they have no idea, and like they need help with the financial planning side of it. And so long story short, just walking through all these different stages and then understanding care at home versus care in assisted living. What's memory care, assisted living, independent living, CCRCs, all this stuff. And I know we're going to help people out, and we're actually doing a conference, and it's March 2020. It's a senior care conference, and we're walking families through all 5 steps. So I know I'm sure Robin will be there and her team. But we got plenty of time leading up to that. But we're gonna actually take all this information we're sharing today in a 1-day, all-day event to help educate the public. So thank you for joining us today on the Senior Sauce, the Senior Source, Senior Sauce, all the ingredients you need to make the right senior care choices. Thank you so much. Thank you, Robin.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
How was that?
I'm getting better. I feel like the
It's
intro.
good, yeah,
It's like
I know.
my